I'm going to be talking today about how we know if a breastfed baby is getting enough milk. And the real key to this is the nappies, because obviously we can't really measure in millilitres like we would with formula what's going in, but we can tell what's coming out quite easily. So the first 1 to 2 days, you may only change the nappy 1 or 2 times and notice that it's wet. It's really mostly a mixture of the lining of the intestines that's going to be coming out, and that will be a black greenish tar. So it's quite hard to really see from the nappies if someone asked you if your baby was feeding enough. Remember, in the beginning it's colostrum, and when they're born their tummy is like the size of a cherry, and as it goes on it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. But let's just think even about egg, the size of an egg. Once it gets older, baby, it's still really tiny, isn't it? Okay, and so not much can sort of go in. And I have spoken in other videos about how breast milk is almost digested instantaneously, and that's why the stomach doesn't need to be very big, whereas with formula milk sometimes it can stretch the tummy a little bit. Some babies will naturally feed more formula than they need because it's like a drip from the bottle that is just dripping and dripping at the back of their throat, and they will just keep swallowing and swallowing and swallowing. They might not actually need all of that formula milk. So let's go back to breastfeeding. Once we get to 3 to 4 days, you should be seeing about 1 to 2 wet nappies again, with still a weird coloured poo. Now, something that a lot of people don't realise is that breastfed babies' poo is like a yellow colour, and it's not solid. Their poo isn't solid until they start eating solid foods, whereas formula fed babies' poos have a form to them, and that's why it's much easier for breastfed babies to be able to learn to use their intestines, and it's a gradual process because it's always just liquid and coming out liquid. Sometimes there can be a bit of an explosion as that poo comes out. Many breastfed mums will know the wonderful feeling when they realise the poo is all the way up the back of the baby's back, if they've been laying on their back and it's shot up, or sitting in a car seat and it's shot up. So that is just part of breastfeeding, my darlings, and you will learn how to deal with that. I've used washable nappies with some of my babies, but some of my babies I've just found that their poo exploded no matter what washable nappies I used. I'm sure someone might comment and say, oh, these one work for me. So if anybody's got great suggestions of the washable ones that do contain very explosive poos, that would be great. Please comment. So now we're going to go on to day 5 and 6, and this is when the milk has changed through colostrum, through intermediate milk, to what some people call the hind milk or the real milk, whatever people want to call it. And that milk will then have a lot more liquid in it, and you should be looking at about 5+ nappies. So that's days 5 to 6, with 2 that have the yellow poo in it. And then once they get to days 7 to 28, we're looking at 6+ nappies, 6 or plus nappies during the 24-hour period. Don't think I mentioned that. That's very important. 24-hour period, and with again 2 yellow poos. If there's more poos than that, that's not an issue, but that's what we're looking for, at least 2 poos during the day. Remember, breastfed babies' poo is very yellow and very liquidy, and so it is going to be very different experience if you've bottle fed a baby before from what you're used to. So I hope that guidance will help you, that you can have confidence by looking at the nappies how breastfeeding is going, if they're getting enough, which remember I've said it's very rare that they don't get enough if we follow the guidelines for plentiful milk and the baby accessing the breast whenever they want. In the hospital in the UK and straight afterwards when you get midwife visits, they will ask you how many nappies, wet nappies and so forth the baby's doing, because that's how they also assess how baby's doing. I hope that information helps you, and look out for another video.